Welcome to Reclaim Treasures. The summer release of IOD and Prima molds, it was incredible. I love the swans by IOD and also the frames. I already made a video, made some magnets out of them. You go check it out. And I got the blue heron from Redesign with Prima, and also the transfers from them. The redesigned products were purchased from my friend Stephanie with the House of Fritz out of Texas. And she sent me quite a few H2O transfers and some castings. I don't have that mold, so thank you, Stephanie, for all your beautiful things that you sent over. Go check her channel out and also her website if you need any redesign with Prima products. She is your person and will take care of you. Now, I have an idea in my mind and I want to use this chalkboard for it. I want to put the swans there. So I'm using Dixie Belle's bonding boss, at least one layer, because the surface is so sleek and it's like a plastic. So I want something for the paint and the glue to grab onto. So I'm going to put the two swans there. I'm not sure about the placement yet. I have an idea in my mind, but they never work the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to tape the edge of the frame. I don't want any paint to get there. So I'm going to put my blue tape all the way around. And I'm going to scuff sand the surface just to give the bonding boss a little bit of grip. Clean it with a wet wipe, really good. And we are ready to proceed with the painting. I'm going to do one coat of that and let it stay overnight. Normally, what you do is put one coat, leave it for 4 hours, and then put a second one. But I didn't think I needed a second one, so I just left that actually for a few days. This is a few days later, and I'm doing the casting of the swans. I'm using amazing resin, and they come with 2 bottles that they're marked A and B, and you put equal amounts in your cup and stir it for 30 seconds and they're ready to go. First they're going to get cloudy, then they're going to turn clear, and then you are ready to start pouring. I always mark my bottle caps with A for the A bottle and B for the B bottle. I don't want to make a mistake and put the A into the B and then it will be hard to open. So I try to prevent it in any way I can. Like I said, stir it for 30 seconds and start pouring. I made 2 different batches. So the one you see it hardening right before your eyes while I'm making the second one. And because the ideas come in my head as I go, I'm going to take the feather ends from Redesign with Prima, and I'm going to cast all the grass and the rocks. And actually I made multiples of the rocks and the grass molds. And whatever is left over, I pour it in on the main feature there for later use. I start taking them out as they cure, and I'm playing with the placement. Actually clean them up before I do that. Right there I had a little bit over pour, but these molds were pretty big and they came out really clean. I had to fiddle around with the grass molds a little bit. I don't have the steadiest hand anymore. So I took out my X-Acto knife for the very tight spaces and I cleaned them up. These ones are just gorgeous. Look at the detail. So I want to put them right up front, and I want to center and I want to play with the grass a little bit, see where I want it. I mean, in a lake, you have all this grass coming out of every direction, so I want to frame the swans with that. So I'm using the rest of the grassy items from the Feathered Friends, and I just got these new brushes that I want to try. Mine are all trashed, most of them, and these were pretty inexpensive and a lot. They're 30 in that batch for, I believe, $13. So I'm going to use them to paint everything, and I'm going to post the info on those in the description below. I picked the ones that I think they're the best for the project, and I'm gonna start with the nose. I got a little bit of red there. But before that, I gave the swans 2 coats of Dixie Belle's Fluff. Well, I tried mixing a little bit of red with yellow. I didn't like that combination. It was not the color I really wanted. Their beak is more orangey, but it has a red in it. So I decided to go with Pumpkin by Waverly, and I diluted with a little bit of yellow, and I painted the whole beak. And I put some red, dry brush some red on top of it afterwards. And it was the perfect color. Now I'm taking black, it's by Dixie Belle Caviar. And I'm gonna do the eyes and the line that goes in front and behind the eye and under the beak. I want to give them the distinct black markings that the swans have under their beak, around the beak, and the eyes. I'm looking at the real picture of a swan as I paint. I have it in my computer in front of me, so I try to get to it as close as possible. When I was happy with the results, I took some of the fluff again, and I mixed a little bit of yellow, and very, very pale yellow I made. And I painted the under body of the swan and under the feathers to show some shadowing there. Because yes, they are white, but when they swim in the water, they get dirty. And if you look at the pictures, they have that pale yellow tone to them. And I wanted to give a definition in the feathers as well. The neck and all that, where the shadows or shade hits. And I wipe out whatever I think if I have excess of it. And I repeat the same thing on both. When I'm happy with the color and all the shades and everything, I will start dry brushing with the white again on top to highlight them. All the way, all over the body and also the beak. And now I'm going to the grass molds with Dixie Belle's Weeping Willow. I don't know if I ever told you guys I am an ambassador for Dixie Belle in my booth. I sell Dixie Belle and a handful of transfers as well. When done with the foliage, I want to paint the flowers of those weeds. I'm using a little bit of brown and yellow to make them look like dried, flowers. Normally that's how they look in the wild. I try to stay as close to the colors as possible, the natural colors. When done, I wanted to paint the bottom with the brown because it is, after all, attached down in the dirt. And that's the way the color is by the rhizome, by the roots. I put a little bit of black also because my brown was not as dark. And I am white brushing everything to highlight them. I'm going to use the color Elephant by Waverly for the rocks. It's not black, it's more like a charcoal color, and it's beautiful for that. Then I make a few more pieces of grass to add to the scene, because as I go, I see more is needed. I only want the grass, not the flowers, so I'm making like a dam with my hot glue. Let it cool, and then I'm gonna add more resin in the part that I really want to. By the time I had run out of the white resin and I went to Hobby Lobby, they only had one box of the black one. I never used the black one before. It works the same like the white, but I found the black one to set faster. Also, I had a problem with trying to figure out when it was set because you can see really much of a difference. So here I am casting the grass part and some more of the rocks. Here it is where I discovered it was setting so fast. I had a big clump of black resin. I tried to spread it as fast as I could, at least, for shape a wing or something out of it, but it didn't work, so I take it out. I guess it's a learning curve with that too. I took out the rocks and they're supposed to be attached to each other, but I cut them in half because I want to spread them at the bottom of my scenery. And I cut this one in half as well. I want to have some different sizes. I think Redesign with Prima should have put a few more different shape rocks, because it's not worth to have to cast again more resin for a couple rocks that you need. They should have put a couple more rocks in that space. Anyways, we do what we can with what we have. I'm taking everything out, and you can see in the picture there the glue under those pieces of grass. I'm going to pull it out later. For now, I paint them all the same color, but then I decided I'm not going to use the glue in there. And I'm painting them the same way I painted the rest of the grasses before. Except for the leaves under the flowers there, I paint them a little stronger of a color for a little bit of variation. Then I took a little bit of yellow and I'm painting the flowers with that. And I'm going to take Dixie Belle's Honky Tonk red, and I'm going to do the middle of the flowers and a little bit around and the center of the petals. Give it a little more interest. I'm messing around with them as, make them as pleasant to the eye as possible, and tap out the excess. Then I'm taking a little bit of Fluff and I highlight everything again to soften up everything and, show that the sun is hitting certain spots and make them more shiny. And as it dries, it was going to dry a little bit less bright. So you need to put a little bit extra because it's not going to stay the same. Again, using Dixie Belle's Fluff, I'm going to start doing the sky. I'm going to put the fluff all the way to almost the 3/4 of that picture, all the way down. And on top of that, I'm going to add the blue. So I'm brushing and a little bit of tapping, but mostly brushing at this stage to get the coverage I want. Then I'm going to use Pool by Waverly, and I'm going to start brushing and tapping to create some parts of the sky that will be showing behind the clouds. So for now, I am picturing that there's going to be some heavy clouds on the front, and the sky is going to peek through. And you can go back and forth with as much as you want, take out as much as you want again. We're not shaping anything yet. So I'm going on top of it again with fluff. And this time I tap mostly to make the clouds fluffy. And you can shape them the way you want. And I'm going to use a little bit of gray under the clouds for shading and to give them the dimension. It's going to be blending, so don't worry about the way it looks right now. I just want to give them the shape now. Because if you look at the clouds in the sky, some parts of them are light and some parts they're dark. And that's how you can tell where the parts that the sun doesn't hit. And then I'm taking my dry brush and I'm going over and soften everything up. And if I feel I need more shaping, I use again my fluff. I go over, I cover what I don't like. And you go back and forth until you love what you see. Don't forget that you're going to cover most of those things. Now I'm doing the lake, and the lake is never blue. It's muddy and have some water, of course, that you can see a little bit, but mostly it's grayish water. So I'm using that elephant by Waverly, and I'm going to use the same color I use for the sky, Pool, to go over. The swans are going to go on top of it, so really you're not going to see most of it. But try to blend it as much as you can to look nice. And now I want to place them to see how I would like it to be, or how high the water or the horizon should be, and adjust accordingly. At the very bottom, I'm doing some dirt, because this is where the rocks are going to sit. And I want it to be more like mud. I'm trying to put everything together and see if I need to adjust on something. Try to see if I need anything more or how I would like them to be. And I wanted to make it three-dimensional, so I want to put the grass, the small grass, and the flowers, the grass with the flowers, in front of the swans. So I want the distance between the rocks to be small enough so I can lay those grasses on top of them and bring the whole thing forward. I think I like the way I arrange them now. Of course, I might change it later. I also wanted to break the sky, so I'm gonna put a flowering branch coming down, like a tree is above it, and some of the branches are coming down low into the water. So I'm painting the flowery branch with similar colors, a little bit darker, because after all, trees' leaves are a stronger color than grass. I wish they had a whipping willow mold because it would have been perfect for this project. For the flowers, I picked a color by, I think it's FolkArt. I believe it is cashmere. And for the center, I'm going to use the same color I used in the other flowers, the reddish blend color, just to tie the top part with the bottom. I'm also highlighting the leaves as well with a lighter color, actually a couple lighter colors, and dry brushing like I did before on the rest of them. And now I'm doing the red stems. I want them to look more like a peach tree or something like that. I want to give the effect of that peach tree being so close to the water. That branch has really got long and came down to almost the water line, and the swans are right under, romancing in their little lagoon there. When I'm done with the red, and it's the way I want it to be, I just added a little bit of yellow in the stems to give it more brightness and, of course, more depth. When done, it's time to dry brush everything to soften everything up and highlight the high points with, again, Dixie Belle's Fluff, one of my favorite whites. With my printer, I printed the word Le Lac, that means in French, the lake, and I cut it in size, and I'm going to use a small mold I casted in the previous video and I didn't use for magnet. I'm going to use that as a tag down below on the frame. I spray painted with a clear matte, a couple coats on it so I don't smudge the ink when I do my decoupaging. And I'm going to decoupage it on that tag. The copier paper is a little thicker and it didn't lay as good as I wanted to in the beginning. So I had to mist it and push it with my fingers or my brush, make it wet enough so it would lay down perfectly, and actually came out really good. I put some more of Mud Podge on top a couple times, and I dried with my hair dryer in between coats. I fiddled with it for a minute or two until it was down nice and snug. Because of the rounded surface, it kept coming up in a couple spots, so I did some slits with my X-Acto knife, and from that point on I didn't have no problems. Once dry, I decided to go with a peachy color that I used for the flowers, and I painted everything around the center of that tag. I didn't want to leave it completely white, so I mixed white with that peachy color, and I put a layer, a very fine layer on top, and I will wipe out just to make it look more antiquish, and dried with my hair dryer. When done, I took Dixie Belle's Pearlescent Glaze, and I went on top of everything there. I wanted to give it a little more shimmer and made it really beautiful, actually. Gave it a nice shine. And, of course, dried it again. Then I took Dixie Belle's Gold Gilding Wax, and I highlighted all the high points around there and around the edge of the center point there where the letters are. Make it look more antiquish. Make it look like the gold was worn out, and tone down the newiness. And right after, I went on top with Dixie Belle's Silver Gilding Wax to give it more shine. Only at the very top points of it and around that sign. I start pulling out the tape, and it's time for placements. I want the grass in the middle, and I want the swans on each side of it. And of course I want the rocks under that grass so I can give it a little more height. And from that point on, I'm playing with the rocks. I want the bigger rocks on each side. And then I'll go with the flowery grasses. And I want to put them on top of those rocks so I can bring them forward. And the same with the smaller grasses as well. Once I was happy with that, I start gluing everything together. I'm using Titebond, quick and thick, for everything that is going to be attached to the picture. And I will use a super glue with the accelerator for the flowers that I will attach on top of the rocks. So it took me a minute to start putting everything where they belong, and wipe off the excess glue with a wet brush. And I continuously adjust and check spaces, and I move things around to where I want the rest of the grass to be, because they're going to be on top of those rocks, and I need to have the correct space in between. Same thing with the right side. And then I go into placing that big grass in between. When rocks were done, I went to glue the swans where I want them. And I continue with gluing, cleaning, and positioning. Then I glued the grass that goes on top of the rocks with super glue and the accelerator. And I love that instant hold right there. Then I moved into positioning the grass that would come from each side. And when I decided where I like it best, I started gluing them down as well. The last thing was the flowering branch. And I tried a few different ways to position it. I ended up deciding on that one, and I started gluing everything down. But then in the end, I decided to put a few extra leaves on the right side by the pink flowers, just to bring everything together and frame the pink flowers as well in. You can see the 3 leaves that I put right to the right of the flowers. And now I'm ready to glue the tag on. I put wood glue, and I also on each side I put a few drops of the glue with the accelerator. I want to make sure I have an instant hold and it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I have to reposition it a little bit before it dries completely. And of course some of the wood glue sipped under, and I wiped that off. I'm not sure if you can see the flowers that are in front of the rocks and the space in between. The last thing I have to do is put the brown paper on the back side to make it look more finished. This is a small trick that I learned from my friend Leanne with Small Gestures, Vintage and Crafts. Leanne is an incredible crafter. Go give her some love and tell her I sent you. I put my wood glue all the way around, and I lay my paper on it, and I wet it. And I, kind of pull it a little bit tight, and then either you can leave it to dry by itself, which is best, or you can dry it with a hair dryer like I did this time. And it's going to pull all these wrinkles away, and it's going to look smooth and beautiful, like professionally done. This time I used a thin paper, so it's not best for this kind of job, but the frame is really small, so I really didn't want to put thick paper on the back side. So you guys try that. That's actually, that was the answer to my problems. And when Leanne put it on her channel, I had to try it. So it works every time like a charm. Then I took it outside and sprayed with 2 good coats of clear matte spray sealant. And the last thing I had to do is put the hanger back on. This is the end of our project. Let me know if you like it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And until next time, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.